Hey, it's Lord Nerdle coming to you from the realm of chaos to bring you today's video. Well, it's been in the works for a while, but better late than never, right? This is going to be the first part of me covering lore from Warhammer, Age of SIgmar. Because, well, there's a lot of deep lore in Age of SIgmar that's vastly unexplored on YouTube, so I decided why not fill in that gap. And we are going to start from the square zero, ground up, whatever, with the Age of Myth. There's multiple ages within Age of SIgmar. There is the Age of Myth, the Age of Chaos, and then Age of SIgmar. And to begin, though, we actually have to start prior to the Age of Myth with what I'm going to call PreAge of Myth. Because I didn't realize it until I sat down and read about it, because I'm still learning the lore for this myself. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of things that happened prior to even the pre-Age of Myth of Age of SIgmar. It's crazy, actually. So, let me start with one thing. And I know this is a highly controversial thing to talk about and discuss, and we're not going to go into ridiculous amounts of detail behind it, because it, well, let's be real. It's a lot of stuff to say that the previous old world ended to herald in the Age of SIgmar. A lot of people were upset about this. I'm pretty sure if you look around, you'll still find quite a few people that were very upset about the end of the old world into the moving of the Age of SIgmar. And some have rightfully so good reasons for that, but we're not here to talk about wargaming politics. We're here to talk about what happened prior to the Age of Myth that got us to the Age of Myth. So, before everything even started, there was something in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, or as we call the Old World, or also known as the World That Was, which was the End Times. And this was a long-running narrative in Warhammer Fantasy Battles that basically ended with the entire old world being destroyed and everyone getting killed for the most part. There's a little more to that later, but for the most part, everything was destroyed. Chaos won. The Skaven brought a freaking, pulled the moon into the earth because they thought it was made of, warpstone, which, you know what? That sounds like some dumb crap that Skaven would do. That's like saying, you know what? The moon is made of cheese. Maybe we should just bring the moon here and we'd have all the cheese we would ever want. Whatever. My point is, everything ended. The world exploded. Fire and brimstone. The Chaos Gods won. Everything all went to hell and everybody died and whatever. Anyway. In the aftermath of all of the end times and all this destruction, a new set of cosmos was formed. In the etheric void that was left behind from the old world, and everything was just destroyed, it's just nothingness, right? In this etheric void, though, there was these 8 different winds of magic that were clustering together, and they all came together to form what we called the realm spheres. And these also ended up being known as the mortal realms. Now, there's 8 mortal realms, and each one became a world dominated by different forms of magic. So, just to go through what they are, I'm not going to go into excess detail. I'm sure their names will kind of speak for themselves, but We will go into deeper details about what these realms are when we start talking about the factions and stuff like that in other videos in the future. So, starting out, it was Azir, the realm of the heavens, the celestial realm. If I butcher these names, sorry. Akishi, it's Akishai, or Akshai, or Akshi, I don't know. I'm going to go with Akshi, which is the realm of fire. Shaiish, the realm of death. Jiran, the realm of life. Kiman, the realm of metal. Olgu, realm of shadow. Now, I'm pretty sure you can figure out what pieces of magic or what forms of magic dominate in those worlds just by their names, but those are the 8 realms. Again, we'll go into more detail about the 8 realms eventually, but that'll come when we start talking about factions. Now, during this time, human tribes began to kind of crop up through all of these realms. All of them, just little pockets of tribes of people just started to kind of appear everywhere. And they spread throughout the different realms, kind of like the same way when you look back at like how they thought humans managed to get around the different continents, being that we had like different land bridges and that the continents were all one thing. Well, in Age of Sigmar, we have what we call the realm gates. These gates are old artifacts left over by the Old Ones, which the Old Ones are the gods prior to Age of Sigmar. You know, there's different gods in Age of Sigmar, and prior to that in the Warhammer Fantasy world, there were different gods then. And basically when that ended, the gods from Warhammer Fantasy Battles in the old world ended up being killed off and replaced with the gods of Age of Sigmar, which you'll see whenever this all unfolds eventually. I know, it's confusing, but this is all before the Age of Myth, and if I didn't talk about this before the Age of Myth, then the Age of Myth would make zero flippin' sense. So anyway, these artifacts were left over by the Old Ones and the dead gods of the old world, and so the tribes started using these realm gates to spread through all the realms. So now you have pockets of human civilization, or not even civilization, but pockets of human settlements just kind of roaming around and settling in all these different parts of the mortal realms, in all 8 of them. And some of them aren't exactly the happiest places to live, but that's beside the point. Now, back at this time, this is before humans in the Age of Sigmar became more civilized, more like a society. They were mostly very nomadic, very barbaric, and, well, uncivilized at the time. You know us people. We start a lot of crap everywhere we go. We just can't help ourselves. If we ain't got other people to fight with, or, well, if we ain't got other aliens and creatures to fight with, well, then we fight amongst ourselves. But beside the point. Now, during this time, we have the dominion of the god beasts going on as well. Now, there were different beasts that were very godlike. These things were very animalistic forms, like they looked mostly like different animals and beasts and monsters, and they tend to threaten entire civilizations. Now, not all the god beasts were bad, but a lot of them were. And we'll be learning more about god beasts in the future, but just understand, at this point, all the realms were being kind of infested with, or, well, kind of ruled over by these different god beasts, these weird zodiacal creatures that were almost like celestial beings. They were very much worshipped as gods by primitive individuals and primitive peoples. And also came a point called the Time of the Bray. And during the Time of the Bray, we had what was called the Beastmen Great Phrase. They began to thrive. Now, for those that don't know what beastmen are, they're very much fans of chaos, and the beastmen are very goat-like creatures. Imagine goatmen, basically, or really mean satyrs, if you know what a satyr is from Greek mythology. But these are very animalistic, very barbaric, very mean, evil little bastards, right? And they're often known as the children of chaos because, well, that's kind of what created them. That's what they are into. They love their chaos. They're all about that stuff, you know. Can't blame them. I'm all about the chaos myself. Now, they had a problem where they were preying on a lot of the human tribes. So, I mean, humans weren't exactly the top of the food chain like they are here in this world, you know, in the real world. Yeah, they were getting they were getting it from all sides here. You got the god beasts being a-holes over here, and now you got the beastmen being jackasses over there too. It's a lot of chaos. It's a lot of crazy stuff happening here. People were struggling. They weren't doing so well. So then we have what's called the Seraphon Temple fleets during this time as well. Now, the Seraphon are the lizard people, the lizard men, you know, they're very reptilian, humanoid individuals. They came from the old world, you know, they saw that trouble was coming, they hopped on their little fleets, left the planet and left the world and just went floating off into space. I don't know how that works in the fantasy realm, but they did. And since they fled from all of the destruction from the old world, they didn't get so much affected, I guess. Now, they were eventually drawn back after seeing the formation of the mortal realms. They were kind of like, what's this mortal realm stuff? Let's go check it out. So they come back. And there's this particular god beast named, I'm going to butcher this name, Dracotheon, or Dracotheon. He led them, the Sephiron, to the realm of Azir. You know, the heavenly realm, the celestial realm, you know, the happy realm. And the Seraphon there, they began to absorb the celestial magic and energy from this realm. And this gave birth to what we know now as calling them the Starbloods. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that, you know. See, where we're coming from it, you know, the world ended, the realms are formed, human tribes are popping up all over the place using these realm gates, and then you got the dominion of the god beasts and the time of the bray with these beastmen hunting people and whatever. Let's just say human civilization is not doing very well at this point in time. Things get better, though. They do get better. And then they go to shit later on. But, you know, it's Warhammer. Of course that happens. So which brings me to the last section of this. When Sigmar is found and he awakens. Now, for all of you 40k folk out there that don't know crap about Age of Sigmar or Warhammer Fantasy, I'm pretty sure most of us know quite a bit already, or we are have a good familiarization with most of this. There's this dude named Sigmar, right? Now, Sigmar is kind of like the Big E from 40k. He's kind of like the Emperor of Mankind, you know? Except, I don't know, but it seems from everything I've seen is he's not as big of an asshole as the big Emperor of Mankind is. This guy seems to be alright, you know? He's got his head in the right place, at least. He has good intentions. Granted, we know the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but the man at least has a plan, alright? But anyway, when the whole world blew up, a chunk of the core of the planet or of the world went floating into the void, or the etheric void, space, and clung to that rock and chunk of crap was Sigmar. Unconscious. Just stuck to it, just like, blah, just flying through space. Poor Sigmar. Just stuck there, right? Now, you may remember an individual we called Dracotheon, you know, the god beast Dracotheon, or Dracotheon. He happened to come floating around, and he happened to find Mr. Sigmar, and was like, this guy seems like he's an important dude, and he decides, to kind of help him. He gets him to wake up, and, after Sigmar wakes up, Dracotheon and, or Dracotheon, however you pronounce this name. Let's just call him Drac. We're going to call the guy Drac, okay? So Drac and Sigmar became buddy-buddy, became really good friends, and they started to bond and be great allies and work together. And then good old Drake said, hey, you know what, buddy? Let me show you what the star bridges are and these realm gates. And now you can go off and start exploring the realm gates, start bringing your people together and do some stuff. And that is where the Age of Myth begins. Because Sigmar says, okay. And he goes out to start exploring the mortal realms and start finding the gods or the people that were left behind from the destruction of the of the old world. And now that's the thing. The old world, not everybody died. There's a lot of people that still survived and they're still thriving and living or needing a little bit of help. Which goes into the Age of Myth. And in our next video, I don't know how many parts the Age of Myth is going to be, but in the next Age of Sigmar video, we will cover, or start covering, what the Age of Myth is, and why the Age of Myth is important. Unfortunately, I had no effing choice here. I absolutely had to go into talking about the pre-Age of Myth, because there was just a lot of information there. And one thing I will say, if you've made it to the end of this video, one of the things I will say is Age of Sigmar has just as deep amounts of lore, I would say, as Warhammer 40k. And it gets pretty wild, too. And trust me, it has its insanity. It also has its fun. It's serious. And it's absolute stupid, okay? It's Warhammer. It don't get no crazier than that. Now, one thing I will say is, it feels a lot less grim-dark, but take it from me, I will say, it's still a pretty grim-dark world to live in, or universe. It's still pretty nasty and evil. But it seems a lot happier than 40k does, so there's that. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, if you liked the video and everything, come back again. We'll be back and we'll be talking about the Age of Myth and trying to start digging into Age of Sigmar and learning the actual lore of this stuff. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, fuck off and thanks for all the fish!